Hi, I'm Felicia Hom with Examiner.com at the LA Asian Pacific Film Fest with the talented director and writer of What Isn't There, Marie Jamora.
Hello.
So, Marie, just for us, will you tell us a little bit about your film?
Our film is about a guy who stopped talking when he was young. He witnessed something really traumatic. And it's years later, he visits his family back in Manila for Christmas. And he falls in love for the first time against the backdrop of the indie rock scene in Manila. So it's about family, it's about first love, and forms of expression, especially music.
Okay. And so the main character, Gibson, where exactly does he come back home from? Where was he gone?
He actually was taking this color correction course in Boston. It's never really formally in detail for the film, but that's what he was doing when he was gone, because I wanted Gibson to have a job that needed not necessarily a lot of speaking. It's mostly about emotions and mood, and of course color correction is something like that.
Okay, and so Gibson can still hear, but he just doesn't speak, is that right?
Yes, he's completely selectively mute, like he just mute by choice. So he can hear, and he can actually talk if he wanted to. He just chooses not to.
Okay, and can you tell us a little bit about where the inspiration for this came? I mean, it's a very specific and interesting idea, so tell us about where you came up with this.
When I was in college, I read this article about Tourette's, and then I had this idea. Just this concept of if you had twin brothers, one has Tourette's and one dies, and one stops speaking because one has Tourette's and one is mute, and then the one who was mute dies, the other one would stop speaking and take his identity. That was the seed idea. It's not this story anymore, because it's very 90s. It's very like over the top and stuff. But I love the idea of someone being so affected that it's like a verbal strike. He just stops talking because of his grief, and that's where I took the story. And I always loved the idea of, if that's the case, what does it take to get a guy to speak again?
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the production? How did the filming go in the Philippines? Was it any different? What were some of the differences in working in the Philippines as opposed to working here in the U.S.?
In the Philippines, it's very interesting because the union laws are very different. So we could actually shoot for 30 hours and not, I mean, of course people will be really tired, but I mean, we wouldn't get into trouble, especially in independent films. You tend to do that, have very long days. We had, what was very interesting is that and television has even worse rules. They have like 48 hours, like without it stopping. And our main actors were all on television shows. So we had to it was like a Tetris of their schedules. Like when they're in a popular TV show, you have to wait for them to get off and all that sort of stuff. In terms of permits, we shot in a lot of real locations, a lot of real bars, houses and stuff. So of course you have sound issues, and we also work with kids, and our kids' rules are also different. Like usually it's 6 hours, but you can cheat that also. So I work with the kids for maybe like 15 hours, but the parents were there, so it was all good. So just stuff like that. I mean, when they see that it's a labor of love, you tend to skirt around the rules a little bit.
Okay. So what are you looking forward to the most at the LA Asian Pacific Film Fest? Is it seeing your audience's reaction, or what's the most exciting aspect of this to you?
It's always about the audience for me. Like a lot of my producers and my co-writer, they hate watching the film again. Like, I mean, I don't blame them. Like, they're sick of it. I edited it also. I co-edited it.
Wow.
I am also very sick of it. But I'm always curious to see if I bring the film to a different audience, do they react the same in different scenes? Do they laugh the same? And when we were at Slam Dance in Utah this January, it was very interesting because the jokes, the more intelligent jokes played out better, but the quiet parts, like exactly the same. The biggest laugh comes exactly at the same spot as from the Philippines and here, which is awesome. If I didn't sit in with the audience and experience the film with them, I would never realize these things. So I would love to see the LA Asian Pacific audience, and what will they like, what will they hate, and how will they react to it.
Okay. Okay, great. You sound so passionate. I love that.
Thank you, because I am.
Yeah. So would you describe this project as being your baby, and how long was it in the works?
It took around 9 years from like the brain thought to its birth, I guess. Yeah, and it's my first film, so I had waited all this time to make the film I wanted to make. All the time, like I had so many classmates in film school and in college coming out with their films. They'd always pressure me, and I was just never ready. And for this film, I just felt I was ready. And so it was great to finally make it. It came out like it had a good reaction. So for me, it's just happiness upon happiness upon happiness. And we have sales agents now, and and we're looking for distribution. So while we're here at the festival, I hope we get distribution and we get to share it with more people around North America.
Wow. Do you have any ideas for what other projects you want to work on in the future? I know this is just your first film, but I know you're really eager for the future too.
I'm totally eager. Me and my co-writer for this are working on another film, another coming-of-age story, but it takes place in a different time period. Simultaneously, I'm working on another love story with a different co-writer. So I'm excited. Like, I want to see which story brings me further. I don't want to limit myself down to one story at the moment. I want to develop a few things, and I'm very excited to do those.
Well, that sounds amazing. So I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for featuring us. I hope you get to watch the film.
Oh yeah, it definitely sounds like something I'd love to watch.
Yeah, and we have a soundtrack also, and we're selling the soundtrack tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Before we go, just tell us a little bit about this indie soundtrack you have.
So me and my co-writer were also co-music supervisors. As we were writing pages, we were also giving each other music. So our favorite bands locally, we literally said we should feature these bands, and we wrote them into the scenes. And it took me around 6 months. We also released it on vinyl. They stopped pressing vinyl in the Philippines 30 years ago, so I had to have it pressed in the United States. Since a lot of the film has music and our main character loves vinyl records, I thought it was only apt to release the soundtrack on vinyl. So we actually made some music history in the Philippines by releasing our soundtrack on vinyl. We only made 500 of them, so I hand-delivered them back here so I could sell a few of them at the festival. So I'm really excited. You can order them on our website, whatisn'tthere.com.
Okay. Wow, that sounds really ambitious.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to you, and thank you so much, Marie.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice
it's
to
awesome.
meet you.
Thank you.